Anggi, and welcome back to the last part of this video presentation. As you guys can still remember, in the very first part of this video presentation, you already have learned about the overall historical background and also philosophical foundations of instructional design with our friend Kevin. And after that, in the second part of this video, you also have learned about the considerations of instructional design with Indra. And now, we are coming to the last part of this presentation. In this part, we are still going to discuss about instructional design, particularly about the models of instructional design. Are you guys curious about that? If yes, then let's go! In this presentation, firstly, we are going to find out what is framework and models. Secondly, we are going to discuss about the examples of the models along with the characteristic of each model. Are you ready? So let's start! Now let's begin with framework or model. Are you familiar with these two terms? Are they similar? Actually, a framework gives you the overview of all the major components that have to be included in the course. However, an instructional design model is used to define the activities that will guide the development of learning projects. It allows you to communicate with purpose and reason behind a strategy. In this respect, instructional design models help designers to understand the theoretical framework better and to create an effective lesson or unit. So, in other words, the instructional design models are the realization of the framework. Usually, an instructional design model simplifies the framework into more detailed steps to design a curriculum or lesson plan. In this presentation, there will be 4 major topics. 3 of them are instructional design models, and only one of them is the framework. So let's go to check it out. In this presentation, as you guys can see from the slide, there will be 4 major topics that we are going to discuss. 3 of them are the instructional design models, and only one of them is the framework. So, let's go to the next slide. The first one is ADDIE. ADDIE, which stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation, is an instructional design framework that many instructional designers and training developers use to develop trainings or courses. ADDIE first appeared in 1975. It was created by the Center for Educational Technology at Florida State University for the U.S. Army because defense machinery was becoming more and more sophisticated at that time, and the educational background of entry-level soldiers was becoming lower and lower. Surprisingly, ADDIE also has a lot in common with the previous model, which is Banathy's model. Most current instructional design models are variation of the ADDIE model. Alright, this is how ADDIE framework looks like. ADDIE is a comprehensive 5-phase process for designing the entire training. It consists of 5 steps, as you guys can see from the slide. The first step is analysis. There are 2 types of analysis in this step. The first one is needs analysis. Need means a gap in competence or performance, or in other words, it's a gap between the expected competence and current competence. The types of needs analysis are the first one, perceived. It is by the system designers or trainers or teacher. And the second one is real. It is to analyze the real needs based on the job task. The result of this needs analysis is an inventory of learners' needs as part of learners' profile. The second analysis is target audience analysis. In this step, the designer must gather information related to the student's profile. For example, the region, the organization, the prior knowledge, the available and accessible resources, and age. The result of this target audience analysis is learner's profile. The second step is design. The goal of this step is to formulate the learning objectives. Learning objectives or outcomes should be based on A, B, C, D. The first one is audience, the second one B is behavior, the third one C is condition, and the last one D is degree. The third step of ADDIE is development. In this step, content is incorporated into the design. It is important for the selection and sequencing of learning content in this step. Also, specific learning objectives or outcomes need to be sequenced. Sequencing may be based on Bloom's taxonomy, which is remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The next step of ADDIE, the fourth one, is implementation. In this step, the ready course or training is rolled out to the audience and its impacts is monitored. The last step of this framework is evaluation. In this step, feedback is gathered and learning retention is assessed. In this step, the test is conducted. The test is used to evaluate the process. It can be in the form of formative or summative test. The second is Banathy. This is the first instructional design model in this presentation. Banathy model was found on 1968 before ADDIE framework was proposed. However, what is interesting about this early model is that just like the ADDIE model, it has a similar flow to the ADDIE model in that it follows most of the same phases and steps. In other words, Banathy writes that systems have three components. The first one is purpose, or refers to what has to be done. The second one is process, or refers to the operations and functions that are engaged to accomplish the purpose. And the last one is content, which refers to the parts that comprise the system. Alright, now let's take a look at the Banathy model. As you guys can see from the slide, there are 6 steps in this model. The blue arrows show the monodirectional relationship between the steps, or it simply shows the sequence of the step. However, the red dashes show the multidirectional relationship between the steps, or it's to give the feedback between the steps. Next is dig and carry. The dig and carry system approach was developed by Walter Dick and Louis Carey on 1978. This model utilizes a system approach in which each part of the instructional design process is viewed as interconnected as a unit instead of being viewed as individual components. The Dig and Carry system is also similar to the ADDIE framework, but much more complex and detailed. The Dig and Carry also follows behaviorist approach because it gives a reliable link between the stimulus and response. Alright, there are 10 parts to the Dig and Carry system approach model. The Dig and Carry system approach is very similar to the ADDIE model. The Dig and Carry model includes every component of the ADDIE model, as you guys can see from the slide. But it breaks the 5 phases of the ADDIE model into 10 smaller components. For analysis of goals, instruction, and entry behaviors takes place at the beginning of the Dig and Carry model. Then there is the design and development of criterion reference tests, instructional strategies, and materials. Once implementation is complete, there is a formative and summative evaluation at the end of the model. This model could be used in a classroom or in the business world. Any subject in which the students are expected to be able to perform a task by the end of the instruction could follow the Dig and Carry system approach model. Both schools and corporations would benefit from this model when there is a goal that is to be achieved. Now, let's talk about the strengths and also weaknesses of Dig and Carry model. Because this model can be used in various subject areas in schools as well as in the business world, a strength of this model is its flexibility. Another strength is that this model is very goal-oriented and works as a system. By starting with a goal in mind, the other components of the model interconnect with each other and develop from that initial starting point. Finally, this model takes the learners and their prior knowledge into consideration. Because of the interconnectedness of the model, the learner's entry behaviors affect the decision-making in the design process. In turn, many of the learner's needs can be addressed and expectations can be met. A weakness of this model is that it could be time-consuming. A lot of thought and work must go into this design process. So this model would not be beneficial if a teacher or a business does not have much time for instructional design. Another weakness of this model is that it does not account for variables. And the last weakness is rigid and hard to adapt. Why? Because each component is very critical and none should be skipped. It means that from this step, you must go directly into the next step because the model is very linear. So you go from one step to another without skipping any step. Alright, now we come to the very last model of this presentation, which is Kemp model that was found on 1997. As you guys can see from the slide, Kemp model of instruction consists 9 elements arranged in a circular manner in the form of an oval shape. The Kemp model defines 9 different components of an instructional design. The Kemp model emphasizes interdependencies of each step in the process, highlights the importance of the evaluation, and it recognizes more environmental factors in educational settings such as resources and support, budget, facilities, time, equipment, personnel, and materials. The Kemp model is particularly useful for developing instructional program that mixes technology, pedagogy, and content to deliver effective, reliable, and efficient learning. As you guys can see from this color corresponds to ADDIE model. While they are not stated exactly the same, it seems that Kemp model has a place for each of the elements from ADDIE as well. Based on the above figure, we can conclude that Kemp instructional design model has the following characteristics. First, the model is circular rather than linear as opposed to the Dick and Carey model. Second, 9 elements listed are interdependent, or it means that all elements can be performed simultaneously. The third is it's flexible, or it is not required to be considered in an orderly way. It means that the developer or the designer can start from any step or anywhere. The last one is it is learner-centered and it's appropriate for classroom orientation. In regards to the previous explanation by our friend Indra, learner-centered is focusing on each individual needs, goals, and interests. In designing the curriculum or lesson plan, it involves teachers in deciding appropriate content, strategies, media, and evaluation. Yay! Alright guys, this is the end of our presentation from Instructional Design Group. We would like to say thank you for your attention. If you guys have questions related to the topic, don't be hesitate to contact me, Indra, or Kevin. So, see you again and bye-bye!